You're right. You're right. If Bama wins, they're both going to be in there. I just don't see Bama winning that game, dude. Georgia looks
I hope not.
insane.
I'm so over Alabama.
That's a good point. I'm going to be honest. Georgia looks so impressive. I didn't even think about that scenario. Like, I didn't even think about that. Bama winning the SEC again, because I think Georgia's just on the next level. And I think, honestly, it's their year. And different than what I'm seeing in Austin, their players, you hear them talk. Kirby Smart's same dude. I think he's a good coach, but what you see in their leadership and their players, they are on a mission. And that's why I think it's really hard to beat those dudes.
Yeah, I think we can just kind of segue into everything.
Yeah,
I'll do the intro separate.
I'm probably going to be talking a little less just because my internet connection sucks right now. We got to update the bandwidth, but it's like the little delayed and a little cutty. So let me know if you need me to repeat anything.
We hear you good, though.
I can hear you, Nick.
Okay, good.
Yeah. The thing, I was watching Sark. Do you guys watch on ESPN? Today they had it. I assume they have it a lot of days. I just threw ESPN on the background today. Sark broke down the game film, like the big play by big play. It was interesting to watch him talk about it and hear him talk about it. He really patted himself on the back for letting them score at the end of the game. He was like, yeah, it was a really great strategic play. I was like, yeah, no crap, Sherlock. I'm sitting here on the couch in my underwear and my t-shirt being like, you better let them score. Like, why aren't you letting them score? Like, let them get into the end zone, carry them in if you have to.
Not like it mattered.
I think the demeanor, I think he's an amazing X and O's guys, which is what we've been saying the whole time. I don't think that's the issue. His script is usually, at least in the first half, very good. I would love to see it be better in the second half, which brings me to my overall point of Coach Shark and a reason why we lost OK State, and I think a reason why we lost against Oklahoma. He's not there as a head coach yet, because it's not good enough to just be an unbelievable X and O guy in the first half and to have cool plays in your back pocket. There's a lack of adjustment, a lack of a turnaround. And he talks about complementary football, and he almost sold me on the fact that, look, he started off at a point in his press conference saying that we played great against the run at the beginning, and pretty much throughout the game. And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? They're running back, a JUCO transfer out of Utah, then a Utah State transfer, ran 30 times for 190 yards on us. How can you say that's any semblance of good? But he's like, then I kind of looked back at it and thought about it. And I was like, okay, we did have a good start. And then we start going 3 and out, and the lack of complementary football that ensues because of that, our defense gets gassed. I still think, though, that's not an excuse for our defense. Our defensive line still has to play up to snuff, and you can't just blame it on the offense not picking up the pace. I mean, you have to have the guys up there. I mean, one of the most telling things we've heard on this podcast is from our boy Roy Williams when he said how big Georgia defensive line was compared to OU's offensive line. OU sent guys to the pros in the top 10. But the thing with Sark is he just doesn't adjust enough. And he's abandoned Roschon Johnson the last 2 games, and I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand why Roschon's carrying the ball 2 times. Why is our Heisman candidate only getting 20 carries back-to-back games when we were outrushed by OU, who was down? We were outrushed by Oklahoma State, who was down. Typically in those situations, you're seeing those teams air it out to play catch-up, yet they stuck with the run on us and end up killing us in time and possession, both teams. Why are we abandoning the run? It's really just a question for you guys.
So, we don't. So all those series you're talking about, Bijan touched the ball. Truth of the matter is, I don't know how to figure out why in the second half the same rush, other than him making 2 or 3 guys miss, why is not working in the second half. But the series you're talking, we went 3 and out 5 series in a row. Bijan touched the ball every single one of those series, every single one of them. And so what he has to figure out, in theory, it's like, oh, Roschon needs to touch it. Nah, man, when you go 3 and out, Roschon's not going to touch it because you're going 3 and out. And I get Roschon's a great player, and we saw Keelan Robinson make a great run, but neither one of them should be playing over Bijan. 3 and out changes the entire dynamic. So even when you go 3 and out 5 times in a row, should you take Bijan out maybe the third time to say, hey, we're going to mix it up. We're going to put Roshan in. No, you put the Heisman Trophy candidate back in there. So I think it's a bigger picture of why that's not working. I don't know necessarily why the same team that's making it and finding a way early on, other than other team adjustments, not working in the second half. But man, listen, these are college kids. You don't want to jump down their throat. But the same coach that had that script in the first half is the same coach trying to figure something out in the second half. I mean, these coaches, they get paid the big bucks, and you need to blame them on every single level. But what I know is when I watch Georgia and I listen to their guys afterwards, it's a different conversation. You know, it is a different mindset. It's something different between the years. And at the end of the day, I met Gene Stallings at one of his many Hall of Fame deals. And he said, you know, it's so crazy that I keep getting the Hall of Fame because I stood on the shoulder of giants. I never went to the coin toss with my playbook and said, I outplayed you, I win. No, it's a lot of players who have to execute. It's a lot of players who have to make plays. It's a lot of folks other than the coaches that have to make something happen. Sark didn't tell guys to drop balls. He didn't tell them to miss blocks or to get pre-snap penalties. And I'm not trying to beat them down, but we have to be really honest. Because unfortunately in Austin, we got guys saying, oh my gosh, PK needs to be fired. Is Sark the guy? Well, are we just going to keep filtering through guys?
Oh, no.
You know, at some point, when is it going to be about the guys that are getting these full scholarships, making it super important to be that guy? If you go back to last year's game, you know who was that guy? Joseph Osai. He said, I'm going to take over this game. And he did. And he made the final sack to win that game in Stillwater. So yeah, it's easy to blame Sark. It's easy to blame PK. It's easy to blame a lot of folks because we walk on eggshells when it comes to college athletics. But the game has changed. This is NIL. The same guys lobbying for money. That changes the game. You need to be treated like a grown-up now. You're making all this money. People are investing in you. Be that dude. Be a leader. So that's my 2 cents on it. I don't think it's a Sark deal.
Okay. That's why we discuss these things.
I will say that there's a big identity crisis, I feel like. And who we are in the first half is not who we are in the second half. There's 100%. Complacency that goes on in that locker room when they get out of halftime. Here are the facts. In these last 2 games, we have been outscored 41-7 in the fourth quarter. Now, yes, these are some great teams we're playing against, but still, we're able to put up points. We're able to do this. I don't understand what happens between the eyes, between the ears, that gets these guys to that point where they get complacent. There's a quote that you said earlier at probably the first couple episodes, Quan, about you want to hate losing more than you like winning. Like, I feel like that's just something that isn't really going through these guys' minds right now. They're like, yeah, we're going to win this game. Cool. But they want to put the foot on the gas pedal and not let up because they do not want to lose because they hate losing that much. That needs to be going on through their heads nonstop, even if they're up by 28 points.
I think that the 41-7, and I understand your sentiment, Q. But that's why I go to Sark. I'm like, how, like, it has to trickle down from the top. But I can't disagree that there's a lot of issues. Like, the offensive line seems to quit in the second half. Like, like the whole right side of the offensive line seems to quit in the second half at points. I mean, we are getting outscored, and like we sit there in the stands and sit there like, or like watching on TV. And if we get a win, it's like, all right, cool, we won. If we lose, it's gut wrenching. It ruins your day, like we were talking about earlier. And that's us as the fans, I guess, hating losing more than winning. I think we expected a lot more because of it is our program and because of Sark. I think us writing PK off is ridiculous at this point.
Right. And I think it's more to it. First, he's still learning a lot about his team. He's 7 games in. He's like, sure, we practice, we've been together, but when you start playing football games, that's a whole nother monster. That's a whole nother monster. That's when you see what things are about. That's when you see what every individual is about. And I think that's what he's still doing. And from a head coaching standpoint, I don't even going back to the call to, let them go in, you're down by 8 and give yourself a chance. I think that was the right call. So when I think of a head coach, I'm like, are you putting your guys in position? Are you making the right timeouts? Are you kicking the field goals when you need to? Or will the guys follow you? They are. I think they love Sark from what I've seen. And those, questionable things that we often as armchair guys question about decisions from coaches, I think there's been a minimal. That's where I'm like, all right. I mean, the guy's done this, done that. And at first we kind of struggled at the deep ball. Well, our guys were calling the deep ball. We weren't executing it. And then we were struggling at another portion of it. I think we were still getting coached up to be in that perspective or to be smarter about that. But certain turnovers or certain penalties,
penalties were rough last game.
Again, I as a player, and this is the difference too. I think it's player. So many of these guys I've gotten to know, and I think they're great people, and I think they're awesome. They have to be able to. I took constructive criticism as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to get better. We continue to we're just not being honest enough because of the fragile nature of today's kids that they need to get it done, man. And they really take some of this responsibility. I get on there. It made me cringe when I saw Coach Brown go on there and take responsibility for a loss. I'm like, bull crap, dude. No, you prepared us just as much then as you did when we won the national championship. But we did this. We didn't do this. We know what cost us games. And so I just hope, to your point, Nick, when you start having that mindset about losing, I think that's when we're going to see a lot less second half collapses. I truly do, because unfortunately, what I think it's an illness. It's almost an illness. When that doubt start creeping into there, it's just crap rolling downhill. The second you start doubting this, that, and that's lack of focus. That's focusing on something other than your execution. And you see drop balls, you see fumbles, you see missed blocks, you see missed tackles. That doubt, all of that trickle. I mean, and for me, if I'm thinking, and I love to try to be empathetic, if I'm on the sideline and I'm coaching, I'm going, timeout. That's not even the same person I saw in the first half. That's not the same person I saw in the practice field. What is going on? And then there's another level of responsibility, because you want to get to the league. And I did see one thing that I saw. I took it as progress. There was a deep ball. Could have been beat, maybe not, but there was a pass interference. And I was like, thank you. That is so much better than a 50-yard catch. Yeah. So I think they're getting coached up in certain levels. It is an absolute mind-boggling, crazy thing on what's happening in the second half. And I'll be very honest, I don't know.
Adversity, maybe? Is it adverse? Like Overshawn goes down and the defense collapses.
Well, and I think it correlates to what we've seen on the road. We're years in of just being a very different team on the road. Now, sure, that was a home game, which is very scary because we hadn't seen that level of, we had one rushing yard, I think in the fourth quarter or so. We haven't seen that at home. I was on the sideline and I saw a different team on the road. And I was like, man, I don't know if this preparation, if it's what is this, a process? Because now I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about the game. I'm like, maybe we need to change the halftime process. Something's not adding up. But at the end of the day, the game of football is, and by the way, I think Oklahoma State was more physical than us in the second half. I think we saw the same thing with Oklahoma in the second half. That is not a coaching thing. That is an absolute individual effort thing. Football is a very huge, ultimate team sport, but it's a team sport with a lot of individual battles. And unfortunately, as weird as it is, in the second half, we're losing a lot of individual battles.
You could see it in one of their guys, their safety gives up the big ball to Washington. Completely gets burnt. He gives up the big ball. Goes back a couple plays later towards the end of the half, and he's the one that makes the jump on Joshua Moore and takes it to the house.
Pick six.
Reads the play, short memory.
Hey, not to take this to college, to the NFL, Diggs gets a pick six. And you know what the Patriots do the very next play? They throw a double move at him. Hey, bro, you know what? You did that. You have a pick in every single game. But now this same player who we don't know like we know Diggs, he's about to double move you and take it for 75. Is Belichick a different coach? No.
Oh, yeah.
He did. Yeah, he is very different than that without Tom Brady. But when you get to the league, no one's questioning. Now, there's some really bad coaches, by the way, in the league, like this guy in Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
But when you get to the league, no one questions coaches on the same level that we do in college. And now that college is doing their impersonation of the NFL minor leagues, we need to be real about certain levels of execution and how games turn out versus the next. And I think that's something we have to be real about with where we are. Now, certainly a couple of weeks to try to dissect that and figure it out. But 7 games in from a true game playing film scenarios, watching your guys, I think that's where this coaching staff is. And I feel pretty confident they're trying to figure it out in the best of their ability. But this is something different to them because as much as A&M beat Alabama, you saw what we talked about it last week. I was like, Mississippi State is in trouble because these guys, they saw the fans run the field. That hurt. They were pissed, and they went out and took it out to Mississippi State.
We say it all the time, and you even said it today. Rome wasn't built in one day. And if anything, I'm taking these 3 losses that we have so far, and I'm spinning them in a positive light. Look, we never want to lose, but let's get this taste out of our mouth now, right? Let's get all of these bad losses out of the way. Let's find our identity right now. Let's get the freshmen like Worthy, and let's get Bijan the sophomore, and let's get all these guys out there to let them know what it feels like to lose these close games and to experience some heartbreak so it doesn't happen again. Because next year, we're going to come back and we're going to have a new identity.
Yeah. Well,
hopefully next week, we got a bye week, but Baylor's
True.
what, 5-1, 6-1?
It's in Waco.
And it's in Waco. So all the things we have questions about. And by the way, a couple of things. Baylor arguably has the best O-line in the Big 12. So they landed on some really good recruits and they're figuring it out. Orlando, this is year 2. So to your point, Nick, not that we're dismissing anything about this year. However, you need a year to learn a lot. And Orlando was a part of that national championship LSU team. Thankfully, he got out of there because Coach O is soon to be out of there. But he learned a lot. He knew who he had. I think that the jobs of coaches is figure out who you have and bring the best out of them. Unfortunately, I don't think 7 games is a true sample size of how to figure all of that out because what you do at practice a lot of times, I take that back. Sometimes don't translate to the game, vice versa, all the above. Casey, maybe he wasn't the best practice player and he finally had a rough game, but I mean, the game before he didn't win and it went 5 and no picks. So I had somebody actually asked me, well, is Casey the guy? Should we switch again? Golly, we have to stop this. We cannot do this. By the way, when we lose, this is when y'all might want to appreciate being out west because these are the questions I'm taking on. And I'm like, so are we literally just going to change every single day, way, coach, player? That is not, there's zero consistency. We're trying to work on that. So that's the stuff
I'm in a few Texas Facebook groups just to kind of, get our show going and sending them some of the stuff that we make out there. And I'm reading some of these people's posts and they're like, you know what, Casey Thompson, I don't think he's the guy. I think that we need to make the switch back to Hudson. Like his stats are inflated by a good run game and star players. And it's like, Are you kidding me? Like this guy has one bad game
in the Red River freaking showdown. There's no higher pressure game in the Big 12 than that one. And the dude had broke the charts on quarterback rating.
Crushed it. I actually didn't hate his picks, to be honest. Is that crazy to say? I thought the one where he gets jumped was like that was a dagger because it's a pick six.
Yeah.
But I feel like that could kind of happen. He just completely missed the safety on that one. And the other one, look, it's the end of the game, and you're caught forcing. They said it. I actually. It's so nice when you agree with the commentator. They said
which is rare.
I said to my buddy, he throws the pick. My buddy gets up to leave. I'm like, it's not the end of the world. In that situation, where at the end of the game, it's already gotten out of hand. He's just forcing the ball downfield. He's under the pressure of I have to score. I have to get it downfield. I'm going to try to make that throw. And I mean, they show it too they even showed I think it was Cade that was down there. He could have checked down to him in the flat and he didn't. He just tried to get the ball up and out. I didn't hate both those picks, but I wish we got more of our personnel involved. The Whittington blow was that cut deep for some reason. We weren't able to really recruit from that on offense. And Nick has infiltrated the Facebook groups, which honestly, I don't know if you go on Facebook ever, Quan, or if anyone
I don't have a Facebook, not a chance. And HW Hockey 6.
It's the worst.
Dude, Twitter has its own. Well, you know what's interesting about Twitter, and I'm not that good at social media. I think I've told y'all that.
I think you're solid.
Twitter they were mild. And I think people are realizing this is year one. There's so much work to do. You don't put it like this. At the end of the day, you don't have a new coaches. Everything's great. Let's not forget that. We have a first-year coach because things weren't where they needed to be. Give him time.
That's such a good point.
Everybody again, we're funny as Texas fans. We're like, oh my gosh, we haven't seen this explosive offense in a long time. You know who else doesn't help us? As much as I love this kid, Bijan, he's so great. We're like, oh my gosh, he's in the Heisman running. We need to win everything. I mean, it's so many phases and things. The reason we feel this way, and we're not wrong for it. We love our team and we're happy about it. But we as fans, and by the way, the reason I'm super fired up is because when they scored, maybe even been before that. Oh, no. I'll tell you when it was. When the guy ran for the first down before they let him score.
Yeah.
Dude, I promise you 40,000 fans left the stadium. And I was livid. I was like, do they not understand we're only down by one? There's 2+ minutes left. And I was like, and I'm screaming like you. I'm like, let him score. Let him go score. We'll be down by 8. We'll have 2 minutes. We have 2 timeouts. We can go tie this up. So think about that. I get it. It didn't work. But if it works to perfection and we go down and score, we got half our fans in there going into overtime, and we no longer have a home field advantage.
Dude, so same thing happened at the OU game.
Exactly.
When they tied it up on us and they got the ball back, I was telling Josh, why are all these people leaving? This kid can miss. They obviously didn't kick the ball because they scored the touchdown with Brooks, but I was thinking to myself, this kicker can miss the field goal.
Yes.
And we get the ball back and half our fans are gone. And let's say they go to overtime, all the OU fans are still there.
Yes. Not one OU fan left. That's why I'm fired up, because the same folks who left at that moment are the same ones calling for PK, questioning Sark, questioning this. And I'm just like, folks, good Lord, man. Again, we talked about it several episodes ago. Where we're going, they don't leave.
No,
they don't leave.
And they are up there the whole game too. And they're there the
entire game.
That's it. They live
all get out. Everybody want to critique, not us as a fan base, as a whole. We want to critique. We want to not critique. We want to dissect everything done on that field. Well, you know what else we need to do is, and I respect, we're paying our money, we're doing all this, but come on, man. Maybe us getting so crazy loud will help the guys. My thing is, I can. That's all I can do is yell and stay there and support. So that's what I'm going to do. So maybe if I do my part, it'll trickle down. So that's why I'm a little fired up. It sucks we lost. Believe me,
There was
we're all
another
hurt, but
Facebook post.
Nick
There's
is like the
another
Facebook
that-
post.
No, I'm just like reading it now for the first time. I'm like, wow, these people like
Crazy.
they get really heated on there. This
Yeah.
one guy said he almost got kicked out of DKR because these other fans were telling him to sit down and he wanted to stand during the game. And he said, I almost got kicked out because I got into a fight with these fans because they were telling me to sit down during the game. And
yeah,
I want to go to this game to stand up and cheer on my team, not sit
Yes.
down the entire time. Like
there's
a really bad identity problem with our fan base. And I've seen people before be like, hey, if you don't want to sit down, if you don't want to stand up during this game, you want to say sit down, give your tickets to someone else so we can fire up these guys on our team.
Who comes to sit down at a football game? Sit on your couch. Why do you want to be in the hot heat sitting down? Like literally makes no sense. I've never gotten into a fight with another fan at a football game. I've only gotten into fights with our fans. That is a fact. And I'm not even a fighter. I'm a lover. I love football and I love the Horns. So we got to stop getting antsy at each other, and we need to do our part. I mean, before we rock and roll, Quan, I want to ask you one thing, because the Big 12 championship is not going to happen. That's just a fact. Unless Oklahoma State has a massive meltdown, because OU is not going to have a massive meltdown. Caleb Williams is so good, and Kennedy Brooks is firing on all cylinders. They are on a rocket ship, in my opinion.
Hey, you're having your mic is going in and out, Holmes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can't even hear you, Josh.
Mm-mm.
You can't hear me at all?
I thought that was.
We can now.
You got me
now. Can, but it's like very like. Yeah, now, but every now and then it'll go really, really faint.
Really?
All right, you're good now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Check the connection real quick. It just plugged in all the way.
Yeah, well. I was gonna say, I'll go from the top.
Okay, there you go. You're good now.
Cool. What I was saying is I think the Big 12 is out of reach. The Big 12 championship game. It's gonna be tough. Like Oklahoma State needs to have like a massive meltdown.
Which I don't think is gonna happen.
I don't think so. I think they're good defense. I think they are a good football team. Like it's like not a bad loss. Like none of the losses are to bad teams, obviously, but they're two games.
Funny thing. That's the other funny thing. We've only lost to ranked teams, and we're acting like we're the worst thing on the planet. And by the way, sure, we got in the rankings, but we're on the bottom end of that. And again, it's 25. Not talking smack about we all love our guys so much, but we've been 20, and then we've been 24, and then we've been 25, and we're losing to teams that are ranked higher than us. And that are, by the way, does any of the teams we lost to, do they have new coaches this year?
Nope.
No. So that's kind of where I am from that standpoint. And on the Big 12, it's going to take some crazy. The thing is, for my emotional health and sanity, I'm very realistic. When we first started talking about, getting on the podcast and all that, I said, I haven't dove into anything. I said, I'm going to tell you, the only thing that will probably make me swan dive in is if we went in October. And October's been a little rough. So do I believe in our coaching staff? 100%. Because I listen to them very, very, very closely. And the things that I feel we've been missing, they're talking about it. You're going to be able to change some hearts and brains and all that good stuff. But you're also going to have to address it in recruiting. So there's a lot of factors that I think will certainly develop. But where we are is we have 2 more home games. I think they need to sell out. We have road games. We always travel well. Waco. Oh, I know it's going to be tough. Listen, I'm from the Waco area, and I can't even imagine losing to Baylor because I have to deal with a lot of crap, and that's very selfish on my end. I texted a dude today who was talking smack. He was like, I want this, I want that. And I was like, well, I hear you, but I guarantee you those players and coaches wanted more than you. And it's funny that we have to often remind ourselves and fans that. I was like, man, bro, I've been in the league, best of veteran, my days are over. I want every single one of our players to develop into an NFL caliber player. I want our coaches to ball out and make their name in history. I want Worthy to be a top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receiver in the history of UT. All of that. Shipley was at the game. Shout out to my brother. Saw him and Sonny and their boys. And so I want everybody to ball. However, I know that Nick, you talked about Rome, you talked about the process, you talked about the growth. Unfortunately, I know that it is a marathon at this phase and not a sprint. I think seasons can be sprints when you're where you need to be. We're just not there yet.
You gotta let it marinate. We gotta give
For
these guys a chance. And we could look. Baylor, it's gonna be tough. Iowa State is gonna be tricky. It's at Iowa State, and West Virginia's at the road. We have Kansas State. If we finish 9-3 at the end of the year, hypothetically, are we going to be sitting here in the first year under Sark with 2 really close losses in the Big 12 where we were leading most of the game, going it was a lost year? Because we went 9 and we only had 3 losses in Herman's grand year, where we beat Georgia. Like, we'll still get into a really good bowl game because of our record, because of our name. We'll finish ranked. Like, there's still, and like Casey's only a junior. There's still a lot of positive that could happen. And that's like why my the one thing I really wanted to ask you is because when y'all lost Tech, when you were playing, y'all had the Natty Dreams, and that kind of like took a huge curb. How do you guys respond and the players respond now that the Big 12 Dreams are in trouble? Obviously, we're not going to the playoffs. How do you guys respond and finish strong so you do have that great end of the season?
Well, we talked about Alabama losing to A&M. I said Mississippi State's in trouble.
Yeah.
I had nerve damage. Arakpo had knee. Roy had knee. Shipley had labor. And we had so many guys who just got banged up that game. We first 5:30 in the morning to go get healthy. And even at 5:30 in the morning, we said, Baylor, we had them next. We had a bye week, fortunately. That's why I was able to come back in 2 weeks. I said, Baylor's in trouble. We all said Baylor's in trouble. We're going to beat, and I think we beat them 42-7, something like that. It was ugly. And we said, Baylor's in trouble. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be one national champion at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to have a good season, not so good, all that. There's only one. So we said, we still have a lot of our goals. And at that time, we didn't know how it was going to work out. We didn't think Tech was going to beat Oklahoma, and they did, and they got embarrassed. But, dude, our goals is after that happened, we had to get over it, but we had to use it. We had to absolutely use it. Nothing worked out in our favor that night, including players not finishing the game. But we used that hurt to beat the brakes off of whoever we saw next. And they knew it was coming. We used that hurt to kill it in practice. We used that pain to not lose another game for the rest of the year. That's how we handled it. That it truly is how we handled it. And there's other years where we didn't go 12-1, and we use that same pain and try to work it out, and a QB went down or certain circumstances didn't work out in our favor. But I promise you, it was not for lack of preparation, effort, and we went after it in a whole different level and in a whole different way, because fortunately my freshman year, we won a national championship. You know how to prepare like a champion after that. And we use that. We prepared like a champion. And also there's a certain level of leadership. Everybody stepped up on that. And then confidence. There was never a doubt in our confidence because we knew how we prepared every week like champions. We knew that we were in our head a better team in most scenarios. And so we just went out and tried to execute and prove it on that level.
Yeah. We need Baylor needs to be in trouble.
And I think that's one of the things. Amazing young man. Good Lord. I love watching everything about him and learning more about him.
It's the best.
Problem is, I don't know if they know what I just said. They don't know that they're preparing. They think they do, because you only know what you only know. I think Sark is, who, by the way, won a national championship last year, are trying to get them here and in preparation to prepare on a championship level. But that takes time and it takes work. So some of these guys think they're preparing on that level. And some will say, well, why can't Sark get them there? Well, you can't break your guys. You got to push them on a level that you just to that point, and then you might have to pull back and then continue to push, and then you pull back, and you the whole time you're stretching that kind of perspective of where they can grow, but you're not going to get them to a championship level overnight. It's not in this sport where you're dependent on so many levels, so many things.
Right.
And so that's where I think they're going in that right direction. And I'm so proud of these guys. They're growing, man. And I'm gonna tell you, last but not least, they want to be better and they want to do it on every level. But wanting it, put it like this: I golf today. I want to hit it down the middle every single time. I did it several times, but the same person that did it is the same person that hit it in the trees as well. So it's like, hold on, man. I mean, I smoked it 280 down the middle, baby. Feeling good about my game just one hole ago. And then the same guy duck hooked it to the left. Well, and that's what happens in the game. And that little ounce of lack of focus or something that changed body, whatever it may be, whole, it changes and it changes the entire game. And so I think that's where it is. And to put it in that kind of scenario, these guys, they're the same dude, same one that balls out and makes a play is the same guy that has a drop. And it's a level of focus, a level of, it is a championship level of focus is just a different monster. And we're just not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And he needs his guys to come in. It's a lot. And that's why we need time and patience.
And he needs his guys that are there to keep growing.
Yeah.
To keep going.
For sure.
They don't need to feel like they've arrived. I get it. You're getting love. You're scoring 45 a game. By the way, not the last one. You're doing positive things, but that doesn't mean you've arrived.
No.
You still have an
of course.
insane amount of work to do to get to championship level.
There's an insane amount of work to do if they want to win games, but also if these guys want to make it to the next level, right? They want to make it to the NFL.
Yeah.
So they should always be improving no matter what. I mean, I can't tell you it's crazy. Over the last decade or so of Longhorns that have made it to the NFL, it is crazy how much they have improved since being in college to being in the NFL. Right? You see guys who went undrafted. You see guys who were late round draft picks.
Elliott.
Who are all starters now.
Yeah.
You look at Sean Elliott, had a huge game. You look at Poona Ford. You look at Malcolm Roach. You look at Amenahue. Like all these guys were not like early draft picks.
No. It's
And
development.
they go there and it's a different monster. And it's also, it's funny about that. I had the luxury of playing against a lot of first round draft picks and as DBs and everywhere, O-line and all of that. So you're like, well, is it the coaches? I just think it's when you get to the league and you see grown men prepare on that level, and I think it finally clicks. If I don't do that, I'm fired. I think UT is a phenomenal place, and we have number one facilities, and we have all of the blah, blah, blah. The only problem is I think what we fought on so many levels to not be that country club, I think we're a little bit more of that country club now because we think we've arrived because we come here because you have everything. I mean, and I have everything. However, you haven't arrived. You have earned a scholarship at a phenomenal place, but with scholarship, with not scholarship, there comes responsibility of what they say, to which much is given, much is expected. And I think they're forgetting the expected piece of it.
Yeah. The great power comes great responsibility is what Toss would say.
To a great power comes great responsibility. You chose this place to be a blue blood, to live up to that piece of it. I get it. You these NIL things are cool. This uniform's cool. That stadium's cool. You fly everywhere. You have insane first class buses and all of that is amazing. However, between the lines, that needs to match Bevo Boulevard, Longhorn City Limits, the State Fair. that's where there's a disconnect. That the same thing is expected, greatness like that in real locker room and south end zone. People are paying $10 million for those suites. They want $10 million worth of game experience, not about all that other stuff, but winning games and enjoying them and seeing and they want it for the kids. It's not about the money. They want it for the kids just as much as they do for their investment in the program. Dude, there's nothing I want more than these kids to have the experience that I had at UT as a player, with wins, with bowl games,
Want that
with success.
Yeah.
Like I promise you, I don't lose sleep over a loss. I lose sleep over them not having the same experience that I had as a player, because this place is that phenomenal. And you take care of business and you put that work in, it is that great. And by the way, you know what I didn't have is the $200 million south end zone. That stuff didn't matter to me. What mattered is with my brothers, talking to Rackpo the other day, again, with these guys, we had that level, fun times, a brotherhood, and the winning correlated with the overall experience.
Yeah. I mean, you said, I mean, close out. I mean, it's just like the same thing of like just human nature, and like, you know, like same thing in our college experiences too. Like I felt bad for my cousin because she was a senior during the COVID year at Texas, because I know what I missed and
what a great example. Yeah.
My favorite thing
100%.
in college, and me and my guys talk about it all the time. Like we were very fortunate to have done a lot of cool things. We were in the fraternity life. We got to experience a lot of, like, you know, stuff that always felt normal college kids wouldn't get to experience in other universities and other places. Like my friends that in New York didn't go to like a big school like this, but none of us missed that. We miss like hanging out on the couch watching football. Like we miss we miss shitting on each other. Like, that's literally what we miss.
Yeah.
That's like what, like I was like hanging out with my boy and his girlfriend at their place. Like I stayed after OU to go to a concert. That's where I was at. I was at a Dead and Co concert on Thursday night, and she's like, "Damn, you guys like love each other, but you guys smack talk each other so much." It's like, I know, like we're having the best time doing it. Like this is what we miss. Like that's what you miss. You like, you know, like all the accoutrements are cool, but like getting to do it with your boys is like the best part. And like having that brotherhood is the best part. And I understand your sentiment of wanting them to experience what you experience, because you know how we brought it up with, I think it was our show. I think with the Victor Cruz example with Eli Manning saying that, I think it was with Roy, like to Victor Cruz, like, and all those teammates, just trust me, like lock in for this week so you could experience what I've experienced before, because it's what's worth it. Yeah. I mean, I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
It's tough because you talk about having guys that want to experience, you know, what they've experienced before. And like, we just don't have a ton of seniors that have experienced anything like that yet, you know, like it usually would have trickled down from your era, right? Like some of the freshmen that were on the Bama national championship game trickled down to that generation. And we've just had so many years of mediocrity for the last decade that there's no one that has really been able to experience that. So they can't pass it down to the younger guys yet. We have to start our own revolution or start our own trend.
And I do think the guys want that on every level. I just think their idea of what that is just not there yet. And I think this year we're seeing again so much progress. We've seen some tough times, but we've seen so much progress. And I think as it continues to go on, unfortunately, I don't know when it's going to click, but I do have confidence that it's going to click before this year is up. And it's just I'm going to be fired up for them.
We just need to end on a high note, and I think we will too, because that's why that's
exactly it.
So I've been in pain because we've been so close. I mean, I think we all agree. And on the
Totally
high
agree.
note, let it sail.
And on a high note, let's say this: go 9-3, get to a good bowl game, win that, have that experience to be like, you know what? It would be a little bit cooler if we actually won a game that meant something. Let's get to that level, because we know what this feels like. Let's take it to the next level.
Start of the
Yes.
Duke's Mayo Bowl, work to the Orange Bowl, then the playoff, or maybe we could skip the Orange Bowl. Awesome stuff, guys. We'll be back. There's a bye week coming up. We'll try to cook something up for you guys out there listening. And then we got Baylor, and then it's game time, showtime with the Apollo. I'm Joshua Fisher. That was Nicholas Snacks Kreider and the Quan Cosby. Hook 'em horns. We'll see you next time.